This question is question number 15 of the Jamb 2021 UTME CBT mathematics exam. So if you are listening, I want us to solve this question together. The question says three brothers in a business deal share a profit at the end of the contract. The first received 1/3 of the profit and the second 2/3 of the remainder. If the third received the remaining 12,000 naira, how much profit did they share? Now, this is a question on profit and loss. Now, let's look at this question one after step. The first question says the three brothers shared the profit at the end of the contract. So the first brother, the first receives what? 1/3 of the what? Of the profit. Now let's assume that the profit is what? The X. That the profit they receive at the beginning of every contract at the end of the contract is what? Is S. So the first receive 1/3 of X. So that means the value the first to receive is what? X over what? Over 3. Now the second is assumed to receive what? The second is assumed to receive 2/3 of the remainder. Now if the first receive X over 3, now the second will receive 2/3 times the remainder, that is the X minus the value that the first receive. That's this all values will give you the remainder of what after the first must have taken his own X over 3. So when we simplify this, if we simplify this, we are going to have X over 1 minus X over 3. This will give you 3. 3 divided by 1 will give you 3. 3 times X will give you 3x minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times X will give us what? X. So this will be what? This will be 3x minus what? X. That will be equal to what? 2x over what? Over 3. So that means this will now give us what? 2x over what? Over 3. So the third one, the second person will now share the second will now share what? 2/3 times what? We got what? 2x over what? Over 3. And if you multiply that, we are going to have what? 4x over what? Over 9. That's the value the second person will now get. Now we are now going to analyze the third question. The next question now say if the third received the remaining 12,000 naira, how much did the third receive? The third person, how much did he receive? They say he received what? He received 12,000 naira, which is the remaining of that what? The remaining of that sum. Now the question now says you should do what? How much did they what? Share. We're looking for the value of what? This X, which is the what? The profit. So we can now say that our X will now be equal to the sum that the first one received, which is what? X over 3 plus the value the second one received, which is 4x over what? 9 plus the 12,000 that the third one does what? Does receive. Now if you simplify this, we are going to get a value for what? The value for X. Now let's assume that let's look at the fact that we want to simplify this. If we simplify this, LCM will be what? 9. 9 divided by 3 will give us 3. 3 times X will give us 3 what? 3x plus 9 divided by 9 will give us 1. 1 times 4, that will give us what? 4x. So this will be plus what? Plus 12,000 naira. Now X will be equal to this. Now what do we do next? what we need to do next is to simplify this. Our x now will now be equal to this plus this will now give us 7x over what 9 plus what 12,000 what 12,000 naira. So if we find the LCM of, if we simplify this whole thing, we are going to have our x, because this is going to give us a value that we need to work with. So what we need to do is to simplify this. Since it's an additional sign that is holding these two numbers, we'll find their LCM. Now let's look at how we can look for the LCM of that number. Now if we find the LCM of that number, let's clear here. The LCM of that number will give us what? So we are going to look for the LCM of, 7x over 9 plus what? 12,000. So our x now will now be what? 7x over 9 plus what? Plus 12,000. So over what? 1. So if we find the LCM, of this, we are going to have 9. So our x now will now be equal to 9 divided by 9 will give us 1. 1 times 7x will give us what? 7x plus 9 divided by 1 is 9. 9 times 12,000 will give us 108,000. That's what we'll get. Because 9 times 12 will give us what? That will give us 108. So the next thing we will now do is to what? Is to cross what? Is to cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we are going to have, we're going to have our 9 divided by what? If we cross multiply, let's cross multiply. If we cross multiply, we are now going to have our 9x to be equal to what? 7x plus what? 108,000, right? So if we collect like terms, our 9x, this will come here to give you minus what? 7x. That will be equal to 108,000. So this minus this will give us what? 2x. 2x will now be equal to 108,000. So the next thing we need to do now is to quietly find the value of what? The value of what? X, by simplifying this. So if we find the value of x by simplifying this, our x will now give us what? Our x now will now be equal to 108,000 divided by what? 2. 2 here, 1. 2 into 10 will give us 5. 2 into 4 will give us what? 4. So our x now will now be equal to, in naira, it will be equal to what? 54,000 naira. Fine. So this will give us 54,000 naira. Now when we look at that result and we go to our option, the right option is what? Is option what? Is option B, which is 54,000. So you see, solving question on profit and loss can be very easy. This is question number 15. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I want you to hit the subscribe button now so that you can get subsequent solution of our Jamb 2021 UTME CBT past question. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in our next video.